So, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank you for your participation. In particular, I would like to thank the ISMEO, International Association for Mediterranean and Oriental Study, and the Thammasat University, which made it possible to undertake this project. I'm very glad today to introduce my friend and colleague, Wannaporn Rienjang, who will present the results of an ongoing research as part of a collaboration between ISMEO and Thammasat University on the semi-precious stone beads excavated by the Thai-Italian Lopburi Regional Archaeological Project at the late Iron Age graveyard of Tha Kae, a site in central Thailand. Kai got her MA at the Institute of Archaeology of the University College of London, where she started to be interested in Gandhara studies. After earning her PhD at the University of Cambridge, Wannaporn would have had promising research prospects abroad, but she decided to come back in Thailand, where she is now assistant professor at the Faculty of Sociology and Anthropology of the Thammasat University. In the United Kingdom, she began also a fruitful collaboration with the University of Oxford as project consultant of the Gandhara Connection Project, also starting to collaborate with well-known scholars such as Jonathan Markenoyer, Peter Stewart, Alison Carter, and Akinori Useuji, who led her to deepen not only the morphological and typological aspects of the semi-precious stone beads and amulets found in Gandhara region, but above all, to analyze their technological aspects through sophisticated, non-destructive investigation techniques. Back to Thailand, she started a study program on the collection of semi-precious stone beads excavated at Iron Age sites in central Thailand, part of which will be presented today. But it's time to leave the floor to Kai, and I thank you again for your attention. Kai, is your turn.
Okay, thank you very much, Fiorella. I just want to make sure that you can hear me properly.
Yes.
Okay, good. Right, so let me share my screen now. Now, can you see the screen? Can you see my screen now? Sorry.
Yes, we can see.
Yes, you can see. Okay, thank you. Okay, good. Right, so thank you again, Fiorella, for your kind introduction. And I'm very honored for the opportunity to present our research to friends and colleagues of ISMEO today. Right, so as mentioned in the abstract of my presentation, my faculty, which is the Faculty of Sociology and Anthropology, Thammasat University, signed a Memorandum of Understanding with ISMEO last year. And early in this year, we have started a collaborative project on semi-precious stone beads from two archaeological sites in Lopburi, which are Tha Kae and Nen Din, which were excavated by the Italian Thai Lopburi Regional Archaeological Project, or in short, RORAP, a collaborative project by the ISMEO and the Thai Fine Art Department. In this presentation, I'd like to talk about the first stage of the ongoing project. This first stage focuses on 22 semi-precious stone beads from the Iron Age necropolis of Tha Kae that are currently on display at the King Narai Palace National Museum in Lopburi. More semi-precious stone beads from Tha Kae and other sites in the Lopburi area are under study and will be presented on another occasion. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the two Italian co-directors of RORAP, Dr. Roberto Ciara and Dr. Fiorella Rispoli, and the Thai co-director, Dr. Pakkadi Yukongdi of the Thai Fine Art Department, for giving me an opportunity to study these beads. And I also would like to thank Ajahn Puthon Pumaton, who has given me a continuous support in my research on stone beads in Lopburi. So first of all, I cannot start my presentation on ancient semi-precious stone beads without mentioning the people to whom my working knowledge on semi-precious stone beads has owned. They are Professor Dr. Jonathan McKennoyer of the Department of Anthropology, University of Wisconsin-Madison, Dr. Margaret Sachs of the Department Conservation and Scientific Research, the British Museum, and Dr. Alison Carter of the Department of Anthropology, University of Oregon. These scholars have taught me valuable methodologies and methods, as well as generously shared with me their data on ancient stone beads since the beginning of my study of the beads found in Buddhist context of Pakistan and Afghanistan 10 years ago. I would like to thank them once again here. I consider myself new to semi-precious stone beads found in Southeast Asia. And so, if there are any mistake that you find in the presentation, they are all mine. As said earlier, my experience in working with ancient stone beads began about 10 years ago with the beads found in the Buddhist context of Pakistan and Afghanistan, an area known as Greater Kandahar. In order to understand the count of relics in these regions, as part of my PhD research, I had to examine Kandaharan reliquaries and their contents. And many of the Kandaharan reliquaries dated between the 1st and the 5th century AD, such as those from Takasila shown here, contain semi-precious stone beads of different colors and shapes. And that was when I started to learn how to look at them in terms of their nature, their production process and use, and what they might tell us about the significance of beads in the Buddhist relic worship. I started to work on semi-precious stone beads found in Thailand 3 years ago. However, as many of you already know, many of the semi-precious stone beads available for the study here do not come from archaeological context. They therefore cannot tell us much about the cultural, social, political, and economic aspects of the society in which these beads were found. Fortunately, the archaeological site of Tha Kae in Lopburi, Central Thailand, produced a number of semi-precious stone beads. These beads were systematically excavated and recorded by the RORAP. Thus, if studied properly, they have potential to tell us about many cultural and socio-economic aspects of the region. And when combined with beads from archaeologically excavated contexts elsewhere, they can have potential to tell us about regional and interregional ancient exchange networks. So my research project on semi-precious stone beads found in Thailand starts with a study of 22 beads from Tha Kae. And of these 22 beads, 9 are Carnelian, 6 are agate, and 7 are greenstone beads. As many of you know, Carnelian and agate are 2 varieties of chalcedony quartz, commonly used to produce semi-precious stone beads in South Asia. The greenstone beads are probably serpentine or nephrite, the latter being a mineral variety of actinolite and one of two different mineral species called jade. White sources of gem quality carnelian and agate are known in South Asia. Nephrite sources are not reported. Rather, sources of nephrite have been reported from places located in South China Sea, such as Taiwan, Vietnam, and the Philippines, as well as further west, but in the variety called jadeite in Myanmar. Nephrite beads and pendants are also found in Southeast Asia since the Neolithic period. I'm very sorry for the rain, the sound of the rain, because it's raining heavily here in Thailand. The archaeological site of Tha Kae use evidence of an uninterrupted human occupation from the local Neolithic period, which is around the second millennium BC, to the early historic period in Thailand, which is called the period of Dvaravati, dated to about the 6th to 10th century AD. And also the sites show evidence of occupation beyond this period, because we have the evidence of a small village during the Ayutthaya period, which is the medieval period in Thailand, dated to around the 14th to 18th century AD. The beads under study were found as grave goods in the late Iron Age necropolis of Tha Kae, of about dating to around the beginning of the Christian era to about 300 AD. The site was heavily quarried and looted at the time of the excavation, but in the still relatively intact area of the deposit, rural archaeologists recovered a portion of a much larger Iron Age necropolis with extended inhumations and burial jars, most of which returned the beads understudied. All but one of the 22 beads came from grave number 15, which is a multiple burial, in which the inhumated were stacked sequentially over time within the same narrow and very deep burial pits. In grave 15, altogether the archaeologists found 6 different skeletons of adult, juvenile, and children, 5 of which had semi-precious stone beads and multicolored glass beads around their necks and ankles. All of the 22 beads are currently on display in the King Narai Palace National Museum in Lopburi. For this reason, the study of these beads was conducted in a limited time and space, that is, during the working hours of the museum and within a specific workspace highly provided by the museum. Nonetheless, the museum staff was very understanding and had facilitated my study and helped me in the best possible way. Therefore, I thank the museum staff for their kind cooperation. So there are several ways to study ancient semi-precious stone beads. But for the purpose of my research, I'd like to focus on 4 aspects. These are raw materials, shapes, and decorations, technologies such as drilling and polishing, and the craftsmanship. For the project currently being presented here, I focus on the shapes and the drilling technologies. And this slide shows how I carry out the study of the bead shapes, whereby I take photographs of the beads with dinolite or a digital microscope and a camera with macro lens and use Adobe Illustrator to draw the shapes. The shapes of these beads the shapes of each bead are drawn in plan, which is the bead drill hole visible, and side elevation shapes. In this way, one can see the beads in their profile and from the top view, making the study of the bead shape more systematic, and the analysis can be carried out more easily. And for the study of drilling technologies, I use dental silicone impressions to make casts of the bead drill hole. For this, I inject the silicone into the bead drill hole and wait for a few minutes for the silicone to harden, and then take the silicone impression out of the drill hole. These silicone impressions make a very precise cast of the bead drill hole, whereby any traces of tool marks inside the drill hole are impressed on the silicone materials. I then take photographs of each of the drill hole impressions with a digital microscope to record the morphology, that is the profile and the dimensions of the drill hole, and the manner in which the beads were drilled, such as whether they were drilled from one side or from both sides, also to record a depth of each drill hole. All these information can contribute to the identification of the type of drill used to perforate the beads, so they must be carefully recorded. The next step is to take the drill impressions to be examined under a scanning electron microscope in order to observe any tool marks left by the perforation. Each drill impression is examined at 4 magnifications, that is 25, 50, 100, and 300 magnification. The results of the result of the examination of tool marks then are compared against samples from ethnoarchaeology to confirm the type of drill used to perforate each bead. In this case, an ethnoarchaeological evidence was obtained from a bead driller in a village in Kambat or Cambay in Gujarat, India, which is a place well known for a living tradition of ancient Carnelian and agate bead making. This bead driller appears to be one of the very few South Asian bead drillers that still preserve ancient drilling techniques. The photograph I show on this slide illustrate the type of drills called diamond-tipped drill, whereby diamond chips are mounted at the tip of the metal drill shaft. This type of drill results in the drill holes whose characteristics are analogous to those observed on all Carnelian and agate beads from Tha Kae under this study. And where ethnographic information is not available, experimental studies are carried out to reconstruct the way in which the type of drills the type of drills by which the beads were drilled. So far, I haven't carried out any experimental drilling, but I have used the works carried out by Mark Kenoyer as reference. The photo I show in this slide illustrates different types of drill called metal drills, which are used with certain kind of abrasives to perforate beads. Such metal drills with abrasives result in the drill holes whose characteristics are analogous to those observed on many of the greenstone beads from Tha Kae under study. When looked at the result of the examination of the 22 beads under this study, it becomes apparent that the shapes and drilling techniques of these beads can be distinguished into two groups. The first group is the South Asian related beads, and this group comprises all the Carnelian and agate beads examined. The shapes and drilling technologies of beads in this group are comparable to those produced in South Asia, which I will show you in the following slides. The second group is the South China Sea related beads. This group includes this second group includes almost all the greenstone beads under study. The shapes and drilling technologies of these greenstone beads are not comparable with those observed on the Carnelian and agate beads. And because greenstone beads were found in Southeast Asia since the Neolithic period and not so in South Asia, they may have been locally produced somewhere in Southeast Asia, or they arrived in Southeast Asia through the exchange circuits that linked South China and Southeast Asia since the Neolithic period. It is noted that within each group, there are subgroups that show variations in workshop traditions. Also, one greenstone bead appears to have been drilled by a South Asian diamond-tipped drilling technique, and the shape of another greenstone bead is similar to the shape of a South Asian bead. In the following slides, I will show how the shapes and the drill holes of the beads in each group look like. So as I just mentioned, all of the Carnelian and agate beads under this study show shapes that are related to those of South Asian beads. These include simple shapes such as spherical, lenticular, and biconical, as well as the more complex shapes such as hexagonal barrel. A greenstone bead has a triangular shape similar to the so-called leech beads from South Asia. South Asian beads with these shapes are found in early historic sites in India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, such as the Buddhist sites of Takasila, and in many of the Buddhist stupas in Afghanistan, which are dated to between the 2nd century BC to the 6th century AD, a period corresponding to the Iron Age in Thailand, and the period to which the Carnelian and agate beads in Tha Kae belong. As for the shape of the greenstone bead from Tha Kae, apart from the one with the so-called South Asian leached shape, which is this one here, and another long cylindrical shape, that one here, most of the greenstone beads do not have shapes that are common among South Asian beads. These shapes include geometric shapes such as triangular, square, and rectangular, and most of them are asymmetrical. One greenstone bead has a flat, short, biconical shape. These geometric shapes are also seen on many of the greenstone beads from another Iron Age site in Lopburi, which is the site called Progetti that I have also examined. Further details on the shapes of Carnelian and agate beads from Tha Kae can also be observed. Most spherical Carnelian beads also have a depression on one of the two poles, such as here. You can see the depression here. And these depressions are like the one we see on the South Asian spherical Carnelian beads. This depression occurs when the bead is drilled from one end only. The drill pressure causes a flake to pop out from the opposite pole of the bead, leaving a depression on it. There are also small spherical carnelian beads whose diameter is less than 1 centimeter. These small carnelian beads also share the depression feature like the larger ones. One carnelian bead appears to have been made in a rough manner. This one here. Its shape is what I call semi-spherical, and probably the grinding work was only roughly done, leaving the angular traces from the shipping process. Such bead, such as this one, is not an example of a good quality bead, which contrasts with the symmetrical, well-grounded and well-polished hexagonal barrel carnelian bead from the same site. And this slide is simply to show you some carnelian beads from Tha Kae that are not included in the first stage of my study, but will be included in the next. They also share South Asian related shapes, such as hexagonal, biconical, and barrel. The 6 agate beads from Tha Kae studied so far comprise a lenticular bead of brown and white band agate, a biconical bead of a dark light brown banded agate, and 4 cylindrical beads of gray and white banded agate. It is to be noted that this lenticular agate bead this one is, to my knowledge, the only agate bead of this shape reported so far in Thailand. Lenticular shape is not so common in South Asia, but was also found in Buddhist stupas in Pakistan, such as the carnelian bead depicted here. It was found inside an early 1st century AD reliquary dedicated inside a stupa at Thammasat in Takasila. The cylindrical bead of gray and white banded agates also are similar to many of the cylindrical beads of dark brown and white agate from the nearby site of Progetti, also in Lopburi. As for the drilling technique used to perforate the drill holes of these carnelian and agate beads from Tha Kae, the study shows that all of the carnelian and agate beads from Tha Kae under study appear to have been perforated with a diamond-tipped drill. Diamond-tipped drill originated in South Asia around the middle of the 1st millennium BC, and as Markenoyer has noted, this type of diamond-tipped drill has spread widely, including to Southeast Asia. Except from the spherical carnelian bead with the depression feature mentioned above, that were drilled from one side, all carnelian and agate beads from Tha Kae under study were drilled from 2 sides. Some of them shows different sizes of drill that were used to perforate one bead, such as this one here. You can see the larger and the smaller size drill that were used to perforate one same bead. Many drill holes show varying degrees of hole depth, and such variations in the drill sizes and the depth are also apparent on the carnelian and agate beads that I examined from the nearby site of Progetti, and they can contribute to the understanding of different workshop tradition. But at the moment, the number of samples under study are still too small to attempt any interpretation. And this slide illustrates how the the inside of the drill hole of the bead perforated with a diamond-tipped drill looks like. They generally have straight cylindrical profile with a parallel concentric lines of regular depth and regular interval running perpendicular to the drilling axis throughout the drill holes. And when examined under a high magnification, their surface generally shows a rough and rugged surface. It is interesting to note also that although drilled with diamond-tipped drills, the drill hole diameters of the small spherical beads of carnelian under study are very small, not exceeding 1.2 millimeters, as opposed to the larger hole of larger spherical carnelian beads, as well as carnelian beads of other shapes that were also perforated by diamond-tipped drill. Small spherical beads of carnelian, whose diameter is less than 1 centimeter, are also found from the late Iron Age layers of Tha Kae and the early historic grave of the nearby Nern Din site. Although these beads are not included in the first stage of the study, I'm going to look at them next. It is possible that they were also perforated with diamond-tipped drills with small drill diameter, and these might inform us something about a workshop tradition of the late Iron Age to early historic period. Also not included in the first stage of my study, but will be included in the next, are a triangular carnelian bead, this one here, from an early historic grave of Nern Din in Lopburi. It is interesting that this bead here is interesting because I haven't seen such shape in any Iron Age sites before, nor have I seen this shape in South Asian beads. I could be wrong, but this is to my knowledge, I haven't seen this shape before. It is therefore possible that this bead is an example of a local production, but of course I could be wrong, so further detailed study is needed to confirm this. And the video here, which is, sorry, the video that I'm going to show you is very short, less than 1 minute. Will show you how the diamond tip drill is used to drill the beads in contemporary Kambat, India. You can see the metal drill shaft. This is the metal drill shaft fixed in the wooden rod. The diamond chips, which are not visible here, are embedded in the tip of the metal drill shaft. The bead is fixed. The bead is fixed in a wooden vise and was drilled using a bow drill here. Okay. And as mentioned, most shapes of the greenstone beads do not conform to the shapes of the carnelian and agate beads. The difference between greenstone and carnelian and agate bead is also reflected in the drilling technologies. Looking at the drill impressions, one can see different characteristics. These are the silicone casts of the drill holes of greenstone beads. And when we look at them, we can see different characteristics from those shown in the drill impressions of the Carnelian and agate beads. The greenstone beads in this assembly were usually perforated from one end. The drill holes generally have a tapered cylindrical profile as opposed to the straight cylindrical drill hole profile of the beads perforated by diamond-tipped drill. The drill hole diameter is generally larger than that of Carnelian and agate beads, and in some cases, the drill hole shows a stepped profile, such as here. Such a hole profile is comparable to holes perforated by metal drills with abrasives and stone or with shard drills. However, it is interesting to note that the long cylindrical greenstone bead in this group has a cylindrical hole profile, has a straight cylindrical drill hole profile, identical to those made with a diamond-tipped drill of the South Asian related type. When examined under a scanning electron microscope, some tapered drill hole of the greenstone beads show coarse and stepped surface with discontinuous concentric lines, which are characteristics of drill holes perforated by a solid metal drill with abrasive. The drill impression of the leach greenstone bead shows a long tapered cylindrical profile with a very smooth surface. It may have been drilled by a stone drill, and very interestingly, the long cylindrical bead that has a straight cylindrical drill hole profile also shows continuous concentric lines like that on the drill hole perforated by South Asian related diamond-tipped drill. The tip of this drill hole also shows a similar characteristic with that perforated by diamond-tipped drill. And if this particular greenstone bead had actually been perforated by a diamond-tipped drill, it would conform to another greenstone bead, greenstone pendant that I examined from the site of Progetti, also in Lopburi, which was also drilled by a diamond-tipped drill. And the two artifacts could show that on certain cases, the South Asian drilling techniques were also used to perforate greenstone beads, thus suggesting the possibility that the drilling was done somewhere in Southeast Asia. So, as illustrated in this presentation, the shapes and drilling technologies of Carnelian, agate, and greenstone beads reflect at least two distinct workshop traditions. One that is South Asian related, and the other probably regional and South China Sea related. It is also to be noted that the work carried out by Chawlit Khao Kieu and colleagues on ancient shorelines in Thailand suggests that around 3,000 years ago, Lopburi was located near the shoreline. It is therefore reasonable that the Lopburi region is one of the proto-historic to early historic port polities along the exchange route that connects South Asia with the South China Sea. Evidence of marine shell ornament production in Lopburi also supports this hypothesis. Being rich in copper, the Lopburi region could have played an active role in this exchange network. And as some of you may already know, Lopburi is also a source of Carnelian and agate. And in the ongoing collaborative project between ISMEO and my faculty, one of our objectives is to explore the possibilities that some Carnelian and agate beads from the late Iron Age to early historic period in Thailand could have been produced in Lopburi, either by itinerant South Asian bead makers or local bead makers who have acquired knowledge from the South Asian craftsmen. Although so far there is only weak evidence of primary production of Carnelian and agate beads in the Lopburi region, we plan to perform compositional analysis of as many possible Carnelian and agate beads found in the area, to be compared with samples of Carnelian Carnelian from several outcrops in the region, in the Lopburi region. And we hope to continue our data, and we hope to combine our data with those done by our colleagues in the US, such as with Dr. Alison Carter and Dr. Laure Ducibier. We do hope that the result of this current and the forthcoming study will provide further data to the understanding of the role the Lopburi region played in the ancient world trade networks that stretched from the South China Sea to the Indian Ocean shores, as well as to the Mediterranean sea shores. Thank you.